Hello, welcome everyone to this channel. My name is Janet. I am working through the King James's Bible. Today I am in the book of Judges. We are going to complete today's book of Judges, so I'm working through chapters 17 to 21. So I'm covering really 2 days of chapters. So are you ready? Because there's a lot of details to cover here. Make yourself comfortable and we will begin. So we begin chapter 17 with a man from the Ephraim tribe named Mika. Now he's stolen some silver from his mother and he's saying to her at this point, "Mother, here is the 1100 of silver shekels that I've stolen from you." He's returning them to her and she blesses her son for doing this, for doing the good deed and giving her the shekels back. She then directs Micah to go and make a carved image of God and a moulded image. She also paid 200 shekels to a silversmith to make a model of a god for her, for the household. Mika then makes a shrine in the house along with an ephod, which is what a priest would wear. So I'll just show you what that is as a reminder. That part there is what he made as well to go along with these false idols, the shrine, and then the idol that his mother had given. And Mika then brings his sons into this area and he consecrates them because he sees them as being the priests to look over these gods. So they're kind of creating their own little version of the tabernacle in their home. And for those who don't know what a tabernacle is, it's like that sanctuary that God has given the Israelites to make where they go to worship him, and only the priests are allowed to go into that area. So Mika is making his sons those special consecrated people, priests, that can go in and do the work of God. Now it states as well at the time that they had no king, the Israelites, at this time of the Judges, because the Judges period lasts for 400 years. So there's no king, and so they are allowed to do what they wanted, and thus this is what Mika is doing. He's not following the God's way of doing it. This is kind of like an image of God, which God has said in his laws that is not allowed to be done. You know, there is only one area that he's made to worship. You don't make your own up of him. So they are going down a slippery slope here. Now next we see a man from the Judah tribe who is a Levite. So he is part of the priesthood and he's leaving his town, Bethlehem, and he's looking for a place to stay. Now he moves through the Ephraim mountain, which is where Mika lives, and he comes to his household. And Mika asks him, "Where did you come from?" And he tells him, "I'm from the Judah tribe, I've come from Bethlehem, and I'm looking for a place to stay." Now Mika sees this as an opportunity because, this guy is a priest. So he's like, "Well, I'll offer you a place to stay. I'll even pay you 10 shekels a year of silver for you to stay. I will clothe and feed you if you become a priest in my household." And this priest agrees. "Yes, I'm going to do that." So he stays with them and he becomes like a son to Mika. So Mika continues to consecrate this priest and sort of welcomes him into his home. And Mika says, "Now I know the Lord will be good to me since I have a Levite as priest." So he thinks he's on the right path here, and this closes our chapter 17. So in chapter 18, the Dan tribe are seeking land to inherit as they've still not conquered their original promised land that God was given to them. So they've not been able to conquer the people who are living in that land right now. So they're looking for an easier place to stay, and they send 5 spies out of their land to go and seek out some land where they could conquer and make it their own. And again they come through the mountains of Ephraim and they come towards Mika's house. So there's a lot going on at this house. And they end up staying at Mika's house. And when they are staying there, they recognise the voice of the Levite priest that is staying with them. And they say, "How did you end up here?" And he explains to these 5 men that, Mika took me in, he's offered me a wage, and, I'm now his priest here. This is what I do. And so because they see him as a priest, they say, "How will our journey be? Can you tell us? Can you give us a prophecy, a prediction? Is it going to be successful?" And the Levite priest says to them, "Yes, God will go with you. God blesses you. Now go on your way." So they go on and they end up looking over this land of Laish. And there the people are the Sidonians, and there's not a lot of other tribes around them. So they see it as an opportunity because it's quite peaceful there. They're just living in their own community. And so they think, perfect, this is the land we can make our own. We can easily overcome these people. And so they return to their tribe, tell them what they've uncovered, that they have found the perfect place. So their tribe gathers 600 men with weaponry for war. And during their journey again, they head towards Mika's house. Now the 5 spies, because they'd stayed at Mika's house, they knew he had these gods that he'd made, they had the ephod, and they had this priest. So they went into his house and they stole all of the idols to take with them. And the priest is at the doors like, what are you doing? And they told him to keep quiet and to join them, come with them and become their priest. So the priest agrees and goes with them, leaves Mika's house with all his gods and goes on his way with this army of soldiers. Now once this Dan tribe with their army have got so far away, the men there and the household of Mika realise what's happened and they decide to go after them. So they go on their journey towards getting these idols back. And as they're towards them, the Dan tribe are like, what do you want? What's up? And these men say, what's up? You've stolen our idols. We want them back. And the Dan tribe refuse. They're like, they see there's only a few of them where there's 600 of them with weapons. They're like, we're not giving you them back. Don't even try, because you're going to have all of us to deal with. Just go back home. And Mika and his men realise they are outnumbered, and so they just have to let them take them, and they go back home. The Dan tribe then move on to their journey of conquering this land of Lachish, and they do. They conquer because there is no other tribes, as we saw, to take in and come in and help them fight this battle. So they win, they burn down the city, and then they rebuild it. And they name it Dan. Then the Dan tribe in this new area, this land of Dan, set up Mika's idol and the ephod and the priests. So he, from creating that little household of idols in his own home, has now progressed it outwards to this town now known as Dan, with their own new fake image of God, which he would see as sinful, in this town. And that is where we end chapter 18. Now, just as a warning before we progress, anybody who is you've got young children, you won't want to hear this content because it is quite barbaric what happens next. I mean, we are coming towards the end of Judges and it has been very sinful. They have just gone off track. Remember, they have no king. There's no real ruler over them. They are not following God at all. So prepare for what is to come now in chapter 19. And it states, no king in Israel. So it's letting us know that there is anarchy running around right now in the tribes of Israel. And a Levite in the mountains of the Ephraim tribe takes a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. She then cheats on him, and so he sends her home back to where she came. And she stays there for 4 months. Then he decides he wants her back, so he goes back to collect her. And the father-in-law starts like, oh, stay for a bit longer, because he sees him as a priest, all holy, he wants him to stay. And so the journey takes longer because he's persuaded for so many days to stay. And he wants him to stay the next day, but eventually the Levite says, no, I've got to go. And at this point it's getting late at night, so they're on their journey back. But because it's so dark and late, they need to find a place to stop off at. Now they end up in the lawless place of Gibeah, and I think they think it's the best of all because it's still part of the Israelite tribe. The area is owned by the Benjamin tribe, and one man offers them a place to stay the night because, they're not having much luck elsewhere. And when the tribe hear of him actually staying in their tribe, they are on a mission to get him. So they come to the house and it's kind of made that they're wanting to abuse this guy, like sexually. They are on a mission, and this man of the household says, no, don't take him, take my daughter, this virgin daughter. So he offers up his own daughter to them so they can abuse her. They don't want her though. They're like, no. So the Levite priest then offers up his concubine, take her. And they do. They take her and they abuse her all night long. So much so that she is killed. And she falls and is dead at the front door of this man's home. And when the Levite priest wakes up the next day, opens the door, and he sees her there on the floor. And he's like, get up. Well, she can't get up. She's dead. So what he does is he puts her on his donkey. He then takes her back to the house and he slices her up into 12 pieces and then distributes that to each one of the Israelite tribes. So they each get a piece of this concubine. Poor woman who has been murdered, slaughtered. It's just horrific. And he's done this to show Israel what is going on in the other tribe areas. And that closes this really distressful chapter 19. So we begin chapter 20 where all of the Israelites have obviously received this piece of this poor woman. And they see that things have just got to a point now where they need to take some action. Something has to be done because things have just got way out of control. So 400,000 of the Israelite tribes gather together to go against this Benjamin tribe in Gilead that had done this wickedness. And they go to the Levite that had cut the woman up and say, how did this deed happen? And the Levite kind of twists the story a bit. This is how he words it. He says, we were in Gibeah, where the Benjamin tribe resided. We stayed there one night, and then the men of Gibeah tried to kill me. But instead they took my concubine and abused her to death. So he's saying that they took her. He didn't actually offer her up. He didn't, he's not saying the full truth here. He said, I then cut her up into 12 pieces to send a message to end this outrage. So the tribes decide they're coming together as one unit. The ones that have come together, they're going to go against the Benjamin tribe to see justice done for what sick act that has taken place. And when they arrive at Gilead, they asked that the Benjamin tribe bring forth the perverted men who had done such a wicked act, that they be killed and rid the place of evil. But the Benjamin tribe refused. They were like, no, we're sticking together, we're one unit, who are you to come in and tell us what to do and how to live our lives? And so a civil war breaks out between the Benjamin tribe and all of these other Israel tribes that have come together. So the Benjamin tribe had 26,000 men, and they had 700 were able to sling stones to the point where they could, hit right between your eyes. So they were pretty good at what they were doing, even though they were outnumbered. So the battle commences, and on day one, Israel actually seek God and say, on who do we send up, Lord? Who do we send up first to go against the Benjamin tribe? And God tells them, Judah, send the Judah tribe. So they send 22,000 Judah men who actually lost their lives that day. The Benjamin tribe just slay them. So they come back with this big loss. Then the Israelites cry to the Lord, and like, why has this happened? What do we do now? And they're still asking, though. They're still asking the Lord, should we go up again against the Benjamin tribe? And God says, yes, fight again. So on the second day, they send more men out, and 18,000 now lose their lives and come back. So the Benjamin tribe are still winning. At this point, Israel decide to repent. So they repent for their sins. They go to God and they sacrifice burnt offerings and peace offerings. And they fast all day until the night. And then they go to the Ark of the Covenant, the place where God has set up. And they speak to the high priest there, which at the time is Phinehas, and that is Eliezer's son. And they ask him, shall we fight or end the battle? What do we do? And God this time says, fight the battle, and that he'll deliver the Benjamin tribe into their hands. So this time, day 3 of the battle, and the Israelites are charged. They have God's faith in them, and they are going into battle. So they move forward and they burn down the town of Gilead. 25,000 men of the Benjamin tribe are killed by the sword, and 600 of them flee and leave, get out of the way. Now this battle, although I've described it quite briefly, it was quite brutal and it was quite destructive. And if you want to know the details in depth, then check out the link under this video for chapter 20 and you will see all the information there. But I didn't want to go into too much gory detail about what happened. It's just that the Israelites eventually, they win over the Benjamin tribe because they have this faith on their side now and they have repented for their sins. and win. And now our final chapter of the book of Judges is 21. And this chapter starts with an oath is sworn at Mizpah. The Israelites swear never to give their daughters to any of the Benjamin tribe because there's only so many of them left. So they're refusing. They've made this oath. They will never give their daughters to any of the Benjamin tribe. But in time, the people of Israel then go to God and stay till the evening. And they're upset because they realise the Benjamin tribe are now going to go basically into extinction. They will be wiped out soon. So they say, weeping to the Lord, why has one of our tribes in Israel now almost gone? But was this God's fault? So what they do to try and fix the problem themselves, they go and decide to go to the tribe of Gibesh Gilead. Why this town, you might ask? Because this is the town that didn't actually decide to get involved in the civil war against Benjamin. So they decide they're going to go over there and they're going to kill all of the people apart from the virgin daughters, because they're going to keep those to give to the men of the Benjamin tribe, obviously to help them increase in numbers. They're just constantly going into crashing down ways. God never told them to do this. They've gone off their own bat doing this. So they get these 400 virgins and they declare peace with the Benjamin tribe and pass these women over to them. But sadly, it's not enough. It's not enough. And 200 men are left with no wife. But the other tribes can't give up their oath. You know, they've said this oath now to God. It's another one of these things where you make an oath. If it's not really, certain oaths work, okay, and they are meant to be, and abide by them. But there's other oaths that end up being a destruction to yourselves. Then these oaths need to be then looked at and decided. Is it really a valid oath? Should we keep this? Weigh up the pros and cons. Go to God. Ask, do I keep this oath? These are the things they're not asking. So then they decide, because they're not going to give up this oath, they go to Silo and they kidnap 200 virgin daughters there while they're out dancing and doing, they know there's this like festival thing, so they kidnap them, take those and hand those to the Benjamin tribe. And this is where the phrase comes, 2 wrongs do not make a right, which they do not, and they are not learning, really, are they? So this chapter, this final book, the Judges, ends with it saying, no king in Israel. We are learning that, when there is no leader, keeping them on the straight and narrow, where there's no God, they've let God and they've gone off and done their own thing. This is what happens. And this period of time, remember, was 400 years. They went through this time of complete anarchy and just chaos. So you can look at this and look at our society today and how, we're still going through this kind of situation. Now, we can learn from this Bible in moral ways how to live better, learn from our past. Because you can see the Israelites are not learning. Are we learning from our lives, from our mistakes? How do we choose differently? How do we make things better for the future? These are all things to consider as individuals, because as individuals, we make up the whole. So we've got to look at life in this way and make it a better place for ourselves and for our future generations. So thanks so much for being here and for going through this book of Judges with me. And I will continue on with the book of Ruth. Take care. Bye.